gangster who had killed a cop. And lo and behold, just as they're getting all set up, the zombie apocalypse breaks out. I'm like,
It always comes back to zombies, you know.
I was like, hey, but
Project Z for zombies.
how the heck did that happen?
Yeah,
How that
yeah.
worked in
Are we
there?
No,
rolling?
you would
Um,
really like this.
I'll write it down.
Takes
There we
place
go.
in the
We've got
Okay.
another, about 40 seconds. Are we on the-
We're on right now.
Hey,
Looks like
Facebook.
they filmed it themselves.
We got two of the
Hi,
three
Facebook.
hometown movie guys with us today.
Hi.
We'll be with you in just a second. Got a couple more commercials here on the radio.
Wake up and live.
Ah, yes.
The great Bob Marley. Wake up and live.
God bless Juan Valdez wherever he is.
Okay,
No
what,
idea
Oh.
how it is without
what is it?
Bobby.
What's the title?
La LA Revolution of the, yeah, it's Phil, just like English, but it's French.
All right, 27 seconds and we're ready to go. With the hometown movie guys who are trying to impale me with a pencil.
That's us. We be the hometown movie
It's
guys.
the horror week.
Ah. So many one-liners. So
La
little time.
semaine de la
Here we go, 10 seconds.
What? I was still asleep.
Well, good, finally, Friday morning. It's, what do we got, about 6 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock. We're up to 50 degrees right now at K-Rim Studios on West Frontier in Payson.
Hello, everybody out there in Radio Land.
And overmodulated as always, it's Andy McKinney. Time for the Andy McKinney Show with your host, Andy McKinney. And along with him, Tina Terry with us. And Craig can't be with us this morning because they're just having way too darn much fun over at the Sawmill Theaters.
He's got a whole theater full of grade school kids.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, so he's working. He's not
Yeah.
just sleeping in someplace.
And I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah. It's all, I'm glad you're here too.
For many reasons, including that.
Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All
I
right.
love the Rugrats, but I really prefer teenagers. I'm very strict.
Ooh, jeez.
Yeah, I know. Well, you have them. I taught them. There's a difference, right? Yeah.
I like it better after they get married and move out on their own.
Quit asking for money.
Yeah. Well, oh, they actually stop eventually? Okay. Yeah, anyway.
This happens?
Gotta love the kids, all joking. Anyway, we're gonna talk about, first of all of the things that are going on at the Sawmill Theaters.
There's a lot of stuff going
Yeah.
on at the Sawmill.
And we're going to visit a little bit of a look at horror movies. And there's no small number of strange, Halloween-oriented movies playing right now at the Sawmill Theaters. But first, I want to talk real quick about a movie that's all about old school versus new school. It's playing at the Sawmill Theaters today. It's The War with Grandpa. And upset that he has to share the room he loves with his grandfather, Peter decides to declare war in an attempt to get it back. And this has got Robert De Niro in it, and some kid. I can't.
So it's a horror movie.
It sounds like it could be. Yeah, it's rated PG. Plays at 1:30, 4:30, and 7:30. And by the looks on Andy's face here, by the way, you can be following us live on Facebook Live right now as well as here on the radio. But if you want to see what Andy's face actually looks like, there was a look of shock and awe when I mentioned The War with Grandpa.
And horror.
Yeah, and horror.
And horror, yes.
But so I'm assuming that you've not seen The War with Grandpa yet.
I have.
Oh, have you?
That explains my expression.
So how many saw blades did you throw at this?
I think I gave it 2.
Oh yeah. So
It's not good.
He's
Really?
always been known to be generous.
Well, that's true.
When he gives 2, I'm like, why give any?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've watched hundreds and hundreds of movies,
right.
and
Maybe thousands.
it might be by
It could
now.
be.
Could be.
It could be. Yeah.
And there are movies. Poultrygeist comes to mind.
Sounds foul to me.
Yeah, it's about zombie chickens, and it is just abysmal. Absolute. You cannot believe how bad it is.
So you're saying they laid an egg with that one?
Thank you for that. just when I think it can't get any worse.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah,
Oh.
a kind of the standard of excellence in movies is a movie called Plan 9 from Outer Space. And it is horrible. It is just horrible. So I have calibrated not only Citizen Kane, you know, arguably, certainly, if not the best movie of all time,
And
certainly,
Chinatown.
and Chinatown,
Yes, there you go.
another really great,
Always have to,
another
yeah.
really great movie.
Yeah.
And Jennifer's Body,
Wayne's World?
Wayne's World,
Oh, sorry.
good movies all.
Duck Soup.
There you go.
But at the other end of the spectrum, I've also seen these movies that are just absolutely utter rubbish.
The word
No-
is execrable because you can't say the synonym for that on radio.
But
You
since
can't say excrement on radio?
Well,
ex-
you can say that, but
Oh.
you can't say the S word.
Oh,
So
okay.
execrable.
Super.
Super.
Yeah,
Woo! But
Because- because
is
the-
it really execrable?
Oh, yes,
Oh,
and we can use that word because
Yeah.
the censors are only semi-literate and don't know what it means. That would be my take on that.
Execrable.
So anyway, when I give a movie 2 saw blades, it's because it's better than Poultrygeist.
Okay, well, that's good. Poltergeist didn't even get one saw blade? Or?
You know,
Oh,
he's so
Lord, no.
he's so old. He's one of the few people I know who's older than I am, barely. And he's getting a bit soft in the head.
To quote yet another movie.
Really.
Well, now, so The War with Grandpa, I mean, I think those you know, family-oriented comedies
Oh,
are
it's just stupid.
well, really?
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
family oriented with dysfunctional family emphasized. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's
I
just
didn't
dumb.
even see it, and you
It's
saw it.
just dumb.
I just
If-
knew already.
There are, you know, family-oriented movies comedies, like this was supposed to be a comedy. For instance, Home Alone,
Right?
that is absolutely hilarious and wonderfully made, beautifully acted. Even something like Uncle Buck.
I like Uncle Buck.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm not a great movie, but there's a great scene in Uncle Buck where John Candy is making a pancake for this kid's birthday, so big that he flips it with a snow shovel. I mean, that's just,
That's a
That
big
is, that
pancake.
is way cool.
yeah, that's really cool. It's clever, and and you can imagine how the kid just thought that was the finest thing ever.
Well, you know, Home Alone, what is it, I can't remember the name of the guys that on, what is it, Discovery Channel, I think, the science guys, or I can't remember what they call themselves, but they took all of the different scenes
Oh.
from that and actually reenacted them with dummies and stuff, where like the bowling ball on a rope coming down the stairs and hitting the guy,
Right.
which normally would, you know, probably break your neck.
Yeah.
But they reenacted some of those things just to see what they would really be like, and it would have been a lot worse in real life.
Yeah, not as funny.
Not as funny,
Yeah.
a little more bloody. Well, some of the other movies playing at the Sawmill Theaters this week, they're here to save the world. Yes, once again, it's time for Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Sigourney Weaver in Ghostbusters, which I thought that was a pretty well put together
It's
movie.
a great movie.
I mean, it's funny, but it's got some, you know, kind of boo type scary stuff once in a while, and I thought it was a nice mix.
Well, we're gonna hum I mean, then you'll have an earworm from,
Yeah.
oh, you're gonna call Ghostbusters. Yeah.
Who are you gonna call? The IRS. No. So Ghostbusters.
Maybe you will.
Yeah, well, they call me usually.
Right.
Ghostbusters is rated PG. It plays at 1:15, 4:15, and 7:15. So
And
another great
there are
Halloween
people, I
idea.
think, that have never seen it.
Boy, I tell you
And,
what,
and
you owe
a
it to
lot of
yourself
people
to do it.
probably that have never seen it on the big screen.
And
Yeah.
they're depraved on account of their deprived.
You know, there's some
Yeah.
really
That's a
good.
line from West Side Story.
They're
by the way.
depraved because
No,
depraved because they're
depraved.
deprived.
It's
Depraved because they're
yeah,
deprived.
There's Officer Krupke, remember?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm depraved because I'm deprived. I'm depraved on account of I'm deprived. And they are.
don't
People
think
who
I
have
have
not
the same
seen
thing
this,
in my
they
cup
have
that
to
you
go to see Ghostbusters. The Pillsbury Doughboy, that's the,
Oh,
the,
that's
the
cool.
penultimate
The
part of
huge-
it. Oh my God, that's
And
really-
see, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, that wasn't in this one, was it? Or was
No,
it?
that was
Pillsbury
the
Doughboy.
Pillsbury
Pillsbury,
Doughboy,
okay.
yeah.
At any rate, Ghostbusters again.
And,
Playing,
and they have also, the Statue of Liberty is the the goddess of goodness that comes in and helps them out
Yes,
too.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, again, 1:15, 4:15, and 7:15 today, a good Halloween choice for you.
And I recommend that movie.
And I do too.
And another one for your viewing pleasure that I think, I really enjoyed this movie a lot when I first saw it, and I think, going to see it again on the big screen would be a bunch of fun. It has a lot of well-known actors in it, whose names escape me, and the fine print here is so fine I can't read it, but Michael Keaton, one of them, in Beetlejuice. And
Oh, yeah.
the name and laughter from the hereafter or something like that. Anyway, I'm just going by what it says on there.
Just,
Hey,
just-
we're the movie guys, okay? Let us handle that.
I'm just reading
Yeah.
it.
The spirits of the deceased couple are harassed by an unbearable family that has moved into their home and hire a malicious spirit to drive them out. I thought that was, it's there's some, again, another one of these movies that's got some great special effects in it. It's funny, but it has that nice little Halloween twist to the whole thing, kind of spooky.
Yeah, Michael Keaton just did a tremendous job on this, and there's a reason why, 40 years later or whatever it is, we're still talking about Beetlejuice.
Tell me it hasn't been that many years.
Yeah, and that's Tim Burton, I believe,
Yeah.
that directed
I think
it.
that
I mean,
was.
he's just a
I
Tim Burton.
ordinarily don't care for Tim Burton, but I like this one.
You're obviously not mature enough.
Yeah, I'm not cynical enough.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and speaking of
But
Tim Burton,
Yeah.
Beetlejuice, no
It's
fooling,
good.
is
It's really
is a good movie,
Yeah,
and people will still enjoy it.
yeah,
Yes.
another good Halloween
it
choice.
holds up.
Again, it is rated PG, so good for just about everybody. I would not take the real little
I
kids.
saw it a
That
couple
kind
of
of
weeks
freak
ago.
them
so
out.
Did you?
Yeah, parts of it.
Yeah.
Plays at 1:30, 4:30, and 7:30, and you're going to enjoy that. Also, speaking of Tim Burton, because you were,
was.
The Nightmare Before Christmas is also playing. That's an animated, in that very typical Tim Burton type style. But Jack Skellington, king of Halloween Town, discovers Christmas Town, but his attempt to bring Christmas to his home causes confusion. I was confused just reading that. But
I'm
again,
confused going to Walmart and seeing Christmas trees,
yeah.
even before Halloween.
Yeah, that's,
I mean,
there's
come
some-
on.
There's something really wrong about that.
Yeah.
In fact, on my Facebook page, I posted
like-
the other day diagrams of forum of the human head that shows a redded out area for tension headaches and stress headaches and this, and then the fourth one is when you hear music, Christmas music before Halloween, and it's the whole head is red. I'm pretty much in that mode.
Yeah, I don't go along with that at all. I'd be happy seeing the Christmas stuff going up right after 4th of July.
Really?
Yeah, there are radio stations that occasionally will go into a 12 months of Christmas carols. In fact, I love it. I love
The word
Christmas.
lame comes to mind.
I love Christmas.
Oh, I do too. I love Christmas
everything
carols.
about Christmas,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
absolutely love Christmas carols.
Yes.
I do too, but not all year long. I think you got to keep it
Well, but
special.
it depends. It depends. If you have the classic stuff, I'm just listening. I'm an opera fan, big opera fan. I was listening to Pavarotti.
That's that
My
foreign
God.
music, ain't it?
Well, yeah, they sing in Italian.
They must be from Italy. Anyway, just before I forget to mention, The Nightmare Before Christmas, again rated PG, plays at 1, 4, and 7. So another good option, maybe to take the kids out to. Now here's one that you don't want to take the young kids out to because there's nothing funny about this movie, but it has been an iconic horror movie. Ever since it came out, which I can't remember. I'm thinking this was like mid to late 70s.
My head's gonna start spinning.
Uh-oh,
Okay.
that's a clue. And when she vomits pea green soup, we're out of here. But The Exorcist,
Yes.
directed by William Friedkin.
Yes.
And,
He is a great director, by the way.
Yeah.
He made The French Connection.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yes, Bill Friedkin, and he also made a movie with Burt Lancaster and Paul Scofield
Huh.
called The Train, which is
Right.
just an amazing movie. Very little seen, but truly a classic for
Wow.
me.
that. Very interesting.
Yeah, but Bill Friedkin he's a good director.
Well, The Exorcist, I can't remember what year this came out, and what I'm looking at here doesn't say. If you haven't seen the movie, where you been? It's about a 12-year-old girl that's possessed by a mysterious
Blair.
entity, and her
That's
mother
right.
seeks help of two priests to save her. rated R, plays at 1, 4, and 7. But I remember, seeing this a long time ago, and I've actually had a chance to see some pretty weird things in some strange places. And this one, I think they really did an excellent job of
Making it very realistic.
yeah.
Yeah, and I see, living in Jamaica, we saw some very
Boy,
strange
yeah, it's
things.
pretty dark there.
And, yeah, so I could say, oh, go see it, cause it's at the Sawmill, and you should support the Sawmill, but I think I won't be going to that one.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the themes buried kind of within The Exorcist is that Satan is actually targeting not the little girl, but the priest.
Yes,
Right.
and that's interesting.
Much bigger threat.
Well, yeah, and remember, Satan is the angel of light. He's not always breathing sulfur and coming with horns and a tail. He's extremely compelling and attractive. I mean, just segueing sharply
Right.
to The Devil's Advocate, where Al Pacino plays
Oh,
Satan, and remember how attractive everything is that he presents
Right.
to Keanu Reeves. So it's
And
really good.
How patient Satan is.
Oh, yeah.
And that comes out in The Advocate as well.
Yes, yeah.
So, if you're really
That
into
actually, for me, is the most frightening and terrifying thing about The Advocate.
Yes.
And do you remember the movie?
The Advocate,
The,
yes.
the
Okay.
devil, no, the devil's advocate.
right?
Devil's
Yeah,
Advocate,
Yeah, and there's a scene at the end, remember, where
Yep.
where Keanu Reeves thinks he's going back to his life with Charlize Theron, and
Good Life.
Good Life, and the reporter is interviewing him and saying, and sort of pumping him up, and then right there at the end, spoiler, but you should go see the movie anyway, he just morphs into Al Pacino, and Al Pacino says, vanity, it's my favorite sin. Oh, it's just, it's so beautifully done.
Yeah, boy, I could talk for an hour on that subject easily, but
Yeah,
we got one more movie we've got to talk about, and then we're going to talk about horror movies in general. The other one that is playing right now at the Sawmill Theaters, the last, and again, a lot of different Halloween-oriented stuff right now, is a movie called Come Play. A monster named Larry manifests itself through smartphones and mobile devices. Feature film version of the 2017 short film. Now this is rated PG-13, plays at 1:15, 4:15, and 7:15. Either of you seen this?
No, it's an opening day.
Oh, today's the opening day, so that'll be interesting. I've not heard anything about this one yet.
It's the opening day, Randy.
Okay, doesn't say it here.
wake up and live, man,
Oh,
wake
yeah.
up and live.
I'm still stuck back in The Exorcist.
But I mean, how scary is this? The monster's name is Larry, so the monster has an actual name, and he's focused on an autistic kid, and he's using the route of his attack, the psychic attack. He's using their cell phones and other electronic devices, and he's focused on this autistic kid, but he's also endangers the family and the friends and everybody around this poor kid. That alone, I mean, being attacked by my telephone is a pretty scary thing, because I don't really understand how it works. I understand how a telegraph works, but I don't understand how the cloud works.
Well, and there's a thing on Netflix or Prime, I can't ever keep them apart, but called The Social Contract, and it's on my list to watch, of the dark side of technology, cell phones, the internet, the addictive side. And it's very easy to become just, the rhythm of addiction
Right.
has many different forms, and that's definitely one of them for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, one of the modern tropes is to see a crowded New York City street on a
Yes.
sunny summer day.
With everybody,
Every single person has got their head
yeah,
down, their chin on their chest, and they're
Yeah.
focused on their cell phone, doing something or other
Yes.
that is vastly more important to them at
I
that
think it's
moment.
really sinister. And then add the masks. You got people with masks, with their cell phone. It's almost like Night of the Living Dead, to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just some of the fun things you
I
can
guess
see.
I should tell you how I
Some.
really feel.
Yeah,
Yes,
really, yeah.
yes.
But it is Halloween.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, so it's horrible.
Wow. And
Yeah.
now, before, because we're almost out of time, we're gonna.
What? How can that be?
We only do 30 minutes on the radio, but we do a full hour on Facebook Live, so we hope you'll join us there. By the way, Janice.
We should have 2 hours on the radio and then another 2 on Facebook Live.
Sorry, hell has not frozen over yet. By the way, Janice is watching us on Facebook, and Janice says, my hubby doesn't even like to hear the title to this day. I think you may need to provide.
Of The Exorcist?
Well, she says of the title to this day. Halloween Eve? What is the title
Oh,
to this day?
what?
All Hallows Eve?
It's got that apostrophe between the E's, you know.
Oh, really?
Halloween.
Halloween?
Yeah, yeah. It's like Hawaii E. Or who.
Give us
I'm all about the glottal stops.
what is it you have in your coffee over there anyway? So
That's Chris. I don't know.
Janice says, no, The Exorcist. And
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
I tell you what.
No, The Exorcist is genuinely terrifying.
Yeah,
It is, it's horrible.
Truly
Yeah.
is. And by the way, hi Dana, she's watching on Facebook Live too.
Hi.
We're going to keep this conversation going on Facebook, and I want to, because we're going to be talking about horror movies, but I want to talk about some real life horror in a way, in that, as a kid growing up, I heard the term, the black hole of Calcutta,
Mhm.
but I never really thought about why they said that.
Oh.
I just thought maybe it was really dark there. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you like me, before you embarrass yourself, would you like me to explain that for you?
Well, I'm gonna after spending some time
He's
there,
gonna
I've got an
explain
explanation. of my own.
It's
It's
Hey, who's the
It's
talent?
well, yeah. Is that us?
That's us.
That's us.
There you go.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to continue that in the second half hour on Facebook Live. So join us over there. Unfortunately, we're
Somebody's
gonna have
phone's ringing.
the phone's ringing, but I don't have to answer. It just
Uh,
rings.
don't forget tomorrow, Sands of Iwo Jima for free
Ooh-wee.
at the Sawmill Theater.
Yeah.
Brought to you by the Room Country Republican Club, the John
Yeah.
Wayne
John
movie.
Wayne.
Just a classic patriotic movie.
Bring
What
your,
time is that
bring your
tomorrow?
Kleenex.
10 a.m.
Bring
10 a.m.
Kleenex. It's.
Oh
it's-
yeah,
it's
something
super-
bad happens to John Wayne that we don't ordinarily see. Please,
You're such a spoiler.
well, that's an
I
old
guess he
movie.
turns into a pilgrim.
Yeah. Oh look, the phone's ringing.
Again. Yeah.
Oh, listen, the phone's ringing.
We have people to handle this. I just don't know where they are.
You have a staff?
But Rod
You're
and
Rod
staff.
and staff.
Sands of Iwo Jima at 10
Yeah.
o'clock tomorrow
Yeah.
morning
Good
for free.
Good stuff.
Thanks to the Rim Country Republican Club for that. And we got to take a break on the radio. And again,
Answer the
follow us
phone.
on Facebook Live because we got a lot more to talk about, including the Black Hole of Calcutta and some other more interesting stuff as well. So join us for that. Right now, I've got to take a quick break. When we come back on the radio, I'm going to be sharing with you some great music from Robert Palmer, Gordon Lightfoot, Three Dog Night, and a whole
Robert
bunch
Palmer,
more. But first,
yes.
yeah, really, Robert
Three
Palmer.
Dog Night, yes.
I
That's
That's
Alaska.
cold.
That's Alaska,
I
right?
always stop after Two Dogs.
No.
Anyway,
It's, you know, if you have a 3 Dog Night,
I'm
it's
gonna go
cold.
ahead and turn the
That's right, it
microphones
is
off
cold.
so I can finish. We can get back to a lot more of your
Shut
favorite
up.
music.
We're
But first,
on.
a quick look at Hey Room Weather. Jeez. They're out of control. All right, so now we
Hey.
Don't
can,
give us caffeine.
we can,
No.
yeah, there you
Caffeine
go.
and chocolate.
Give
We
me
can-
more caffeine.
Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about as far as this whole Calcutta thing,
Okay.
Mm.
In 1850.
keep in mind, the only microphone hearing us is that one up there.
Okay.
So speak loud.
1857, the Sepoy Mutiny.
Yes.
In
Boy, he
India.
really is old.
In India, in Calcutta,
Yes.
the mutineers, who were Native Indian soldiers, the
Yep.
Sepoys,
The seaports.
arrested a whole slew of British soldiers.
Yep.
And they stuffed them into a jail cell
Yes.
in Calcutta and locked the door. And
Yep.
imagine it's 120 degrees. Imagine there are 150 guys in a room about this big.
Mhm.
and
And
imagine
it's
them,
steamy, hot and steamy.
yeah,
Oh,
imagine them locked,
In a good way.
bad.
imagine them locked in there for, until the next day.
Yep.
And when you open the door, most of them have expired.
Yeah.
Hence, the black hole of Calcutta.
Ah.
Right.
Well, the blackness that I witnessed
Well, that's it,
was
yeah.
a whole different kind of black.
Well, yeah. no,
But I mean,
yeah,
that's
but that's-
literally the,
Right,
that's-
that's
that's-
where that originally came
That's the
from.
historic origin of
Right.
that term.
right.
Now, you're speaking of a spiritual blackness.
Yeah,
Yes.
a significant darkness.
Yeah.
You know, I've been to India, gosh, many times. I've only been to Calcutta once, but I spent about 2 weeks there. And
Seems like a long time.
boy, it was. One of the things that, first of all, I'll just give you a real quick overview. One of the things that I found interesting is someone who has smoked for way too many years, you would think that all of my senses would be so decayed that I wouldn't have noticed. But stepping off the plane and down the ladder on the tarmac,
That
The-
goes back.
there's, first of all, Calcutta is a city of about 15 million people.
Right.
Most of the city is served with open ditch sewers. And the 3 to 4 million Dalits, or the poorest of the poor that live on the street, all cook their food over and warm themselves over little fires fueled with cow dung.
Right.
And it hits you, I mean, it burns your eyes, burns your nose. And again, as someone who smoked for a long time, I thought I'd be kind of desensitized, but I mean, it really hit you right when you walked off the plane. So that was the first thing. Then I actually lived at an orphanage there for a couple of weeks that we supported, and also spent some time working with those Dalits, or the poorest of the poor on the streets. But my mentor, and this is back when I first got into doing disaster and humanitarian relief work, is a guy that is a Wheaton grad, very significant Christian friend, personal friends with Billy Graham, and he was a great guy, and I was blessed with an 8-year mentorship with him. But one of the first things that he had me do when we got to Calcutta is, I'm going to give you our driver, and this guy spoke no English, and I spoke no, gosh, I think it's Bengali in Calcutta. There's different languages all over India, but anyway, he was to take me to the Kali temple, which the goddess Kali
Gee.
is what Calcutta is named for.
Goddess of
Wow.
death.
Well, so he goes, you just need to go down and just go take a look at it, experience, and come back and we'll talk. And it's like, okay. And so so I did it. The driver pulls up, stops, and point, there's the temple. And I don't mean to, speak disparagingly about Hindus or anything, but this was like way outside of my comfort zone. Outside the temple, there are all these different stations where different sacrifices are going on, and there was a number of different unusual things out there. There's one place where they tie a couple of cattle together, and there's this guy, it looks like something straight out of Raiders of the Lost Ark or something, this guy with this big old huge sword, and they tie these cattle together side by side, and if he can come down, and even though, bovine are supposed to be sacred there, apparently once in a while they sacrifice some, and I don't really understand how
Well,
that
because they're sacred, they sacrifice them.
works. Yes, well, anyway.
They're vegetarians who sacrifice
Just
cattle.
another question that I have. But anyway, if they can cut off both the heads in one swing, it's good luck. And if it takes a few more swings, well, it's not quite as good a luck. And that's going on. Just around the corner is another station where there's this huge black marble phallic symbol about 7 feet high. And there's these women down on their knees praying to this thing and weeping. It's like a fertility god. And of course, I'm kind of sick and twisted, so I'm torn between pointing and laughing and wanting to cry because it was just so bizarre. Anyway, you go around to all these different little stations, and there was some really weird stuff there. And then finally, you come to the entrance and you go inside. You have to take your shoes off and leave them in a pile with everybody else's shoes. And I remember as I walked in barefoot, I'm looking back at my shoes thinking, I'll never see those again. But I did, oddly enough. Anyway, as you walk in, the floor is sticky with sacrificial blood. It's dark, and everybody is clamoring together. And fortunately, most of the people there are shorter than me, so they're all about here to me. But they're like kind of chanting and all this weirdness as they try to glamour over to this one little doorway to look in. and again, I got kind of a sick, twisted way of looking at things. When I finally look in this little door, there's the goddess Kali, which to me, the skeptical side of me looked like, or thought something to the effect of, that looks like something you'd buy from Ronco. But at the same time, there was a darkness there that you could feel, that, the hair on the back of your neck stand up and that kind of thing. And I just found the whole thing to be really creepy. There's only been 2 places that I've been to where, with the exception of a couple of relatives' homes, where I felt the same darkness. One was Calcutta, and the other is Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and that's another story for another talk show.
Yep.
But man, it's so the point finally, because eventually I have to get to one of those, is that
No hurry.
since all of that, I have a real hard time with horror movies because
Yeah.
and with disasters and blood and equal parts and everything. I try to put that stuff behind me and think happy thoughts, and so I struggle with horror movies, and especially with the darkness that comes from The Exorcist, because I mean there's some real stuff there that I think is as true as anything could be. All that said, I think I might like to go and see The Exorcist on the big screen again, just because, I mean, it's...
You're teasing us.
You're teasing.
You're not going.
You're not going. You don't go to movies. We know this.
I almost went to one last Sunday, but then we did something else.
You have to cross the creek.
Yeah, I know.
And it's flowing really bad right now with hot air. But
I feel the same way, with some exceptions. I discovered an amazing series on Netflix. Excuse me, it's French. It's called La Révolution, and subtitles. But I used to speak French fluently, so I've sort of been practicing. Hold my hand up and maybe not look at the subtitles, see if I can understand them. But it takes place at the time of the French Revolution. The costumes, the characterizations, the settings are extraordinary. I mean, I think they may have even filmed in Versailles, which is just an amazing,
Wow.
edifice. And it's horrible. It's kind of vampire zombies. I mean, really, you'd like it.
Yeah.
But it has a message. There's a good versus evil, and I like seeing that kind of thing. So. But I'm with you. I mean, I was in Haiti. I actually went to that temple, the Kali temple, when I was a kid.
Oh, in Calcutta?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, we lived in Singapore, so we traveled all over Southeast Asia. We went to India, and saw that. And I saw stuff in Jamaica that was black magic called Obeah, and you don't mess with that stuff.
No, and
No.
it's very real, and it's very spooky.
It's
Matter of
very
fact,
real.
Dana,
Yeah.
who's watching along on Facebook, said that had to be an experience for sure. Trust me, it
Oh
was.
yeah.
And that's, oh golly, do I have some stories, but I think I could depress mass numbers of people very easily with my stories, and that's why I don't normally
More
share.
than usual? No.
And,
Yeah, normally I just put them to sleep. Yeah.
and for those of you who are not completely conversant in Hindu theology, Kali is the goddess of death.
Yeah.
And the goddess of death, as Randy has pointed out, has its own temples.
Yep.
The goddess of death has its own worship.
Her own.
Her own
It's a
worship.
she, right?
Worship,
Yeah.
I guess. Her own worship rigmarole, and it's an established religion revolving around the goddess of death, and it's to be taken very, very seriously.
Yeah,
Right.
the idol itself had multiple arms,
Multiple arms,
and
right.
one of them is holding a bloody knife, and
Yeah.
one of them is holding the severed head of her foe, and
Oh yeah.
it's just great fun at parties.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
but
not religion kind of as we are used to.
And remember also, we talk about the Indian words. There recently, supposedly, if you say the word thug, you're a racist. Like you're a racist if you're.
oh come on, you're a thug.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
But remember, it comes from the Indian word thuggee, which was a secret society of Indian
murderers.
assassins. And so if you call somebody a thug, you just call them a thuggee and they won't know what you're talking about.
There you are.
But it's Thugee if it's the Indian
Yeah,
word.
people start thinking you're an English teacher or something.
Yeah. Well, and the Thuggee were devotees
Yes.
of Kali.
Of Kali,
And
right?
they would habituate, caravan stops was their favorite place.
Yep, they were highwaymen, sort of.
Essentially, yeah. And they would have like a bandana
Mhm.
about that size, a piece of cloth.
Mhm.
And they would take a heavy, silver coin
Mhm.
and tie it into one corner of the bandana.
Mhm.
And then you could come up behind somebody with this thing, flip it around their neck, and you had a noose, and that
Yes.
was their
That was their
method of
yeah.
murder.
The mode of murder.
Yeah, and then they
But
would,
let's talk about movies.
Well, there's an
uh,
interesting
you
idea.
think?
well, I think in
Weren't there, what, Gunga Din?
Gunga Din,
Yeah,
yes, there were
Gunga Din,
Thuggee,
there were
there were Thuggee
Thuggees.
and Gunga
Right,
Din.
yeah, you're a good man, Gunga Din.
Yes.
Yes.
And
They said that about Charlie Brown too.
the British made a point of
Mhm.
exterminating
They did.
the Thuggee,
Yes,
but we still have the word.
yes, and they also made a point of stopping the very despicable practice of what was called sati, in which when a man died, his widow was supposed to fling herself on the funeral pyre, and often she was flung because she didn't want to fling. And so they stopped that. They said, well, the Indians said, well, that's our custom. And the British said, well,
Not
here's
anymore.
here's a gallows, and people who do this kind of thing, we hang them. That's our custom. And lo and behold, there was a diminution of sati.
Yeah, never
Yeah.
completely exterminated, however.
No, that's true. It's still, I think,
Well, they,
Baka bush, like we say in Jamaica, way out in the country. Baka bush, they still practice.
Well, when it comes to horror movies,
Yeah, horror
I
movies.
instantly go back to my younger days because I know as a kid growing up, Vincent Price was the spookiest person in the world,
He was.
in my world.
Yeah.
I mean, he had, and a lot of different movies that he was in that as a kid, just freaked me right out.
Mhm.
That's,
Yeah.
that's why I ended up this way.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many horror movies. Was he ever in anything that wasn't a horror movie?
oh, yeah,
think
sure,
so,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he was a
Yeah, he was a-
conventional actor, but he's best known certainly. He made, I don't know, a half a dozen or so, I guess, horror movies, Pit and the Pendulum. among
Pit and the
them.
Pendulum
Yes,
was a,
yes,
was a big
I think,
one.
did
Yeah.
he do Murders in the Rue Morgue?
I believe so. Yes, those Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah,
He was
Mask
the
of
Mask
the
of the Red
Death.
Death. Yeah. What was the one where he bricks up his enemy?
Oh, yeah, Cask of,
The Cask of Amontillado.
yes.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah. Oh,
Boy, that was
that's a
creepy.
bad story.
But isn't
Yeah,
it weird
good
how?
story.
I mean, when was the last time you thought of that movie?
Oh, it's been a long time.
And that it's mentioned, and all of a sudden, I mean,
Old synapses are firing.
yeah,
Yay.
that's the
Not
only,
dead
only
yet.
kind I have anymore. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
but if
But
you
that
go,
was just absolutely
It was
frightening. My
creepy,
goodness.
creepy, creepy.
He gets
Yeah.
he has an enemy,
Mhm.
and he gets the enemy looped,
yeah,
takes him down into the basement, and
tells him
says,
he's gonna have like a really good sherry, which is Amontillado, is a type of sherry. Yeah. Ooh, and he bricks him.
he bricks him up.
Yes, bricks him in.
And the guy's saying, no, don't do that. It's
Yeah.
gonna be dark and I'll be lonesome and,
Yeah,
oh, wait, no, stop doing that.
yes, and I'll be dead.
Yeah.
It's like in Monty Python. No, I'm not dead yet.
Don't do that
Feeling
anymore.
much
Stop
better.
it. Stop it. And it's just, and
Yeah.
the guy is completely terrified and
It's
naturally.
really scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember reading that when I was a kid, and I mean, I couldn't sleep. I read a lot of Poe. It was,
Edgar Allan Poe was very
Oh.
interesting. Dana, by the way, who's watching on Facebook Live, says Vincent Price played in a bunch of scary movies.
Yes,
and
he
you're right.
did. yeah, you're right.
I can't think of other than I know he would be on a couple of sitcoms, but
Mhm.
just his mannerisms and everything. To me, he would have to be in either a horror movie or
Mhm.
working as a Shakespearean actor with his.
Well, he was Shakespearean trained. I mean,
It
everybody
almost had
in
to
those
be.
in
Yeah.
those days, and then another horror movie, a horror actor, but played in other things. Christopher Lee was the horror of Dracula, and that's one of the most memorable, scary things in
Yeah,
my
vampires
childhood.
suck.
Yeah, he was really good at that though. Yeah, and Peter Cushing was played in that with him. There's a great movie in Jamaica, from Jamaica, called The Harder They Come. not strictly a horror movie, but really a picture of the way Jamaica really was, where you don't go to the beaches on the North Shore, you don't go to, you know, the Dunn's River Falls, where Kingston, where we lived with the slums, Trenchtown is one of the worst slums anywhere. And it's a horror movie because it's very sobering, and it's, you know, Jimmy Cliff was in that.
Mhm.
That's where you get that wonderful music, Many Rivers to Cross.
All right, okay.
Yeah, but you know, if you want to see you know, it's not strictly horror, but horrible.
So, let's just say the best horror movie of all time in your opinion, Andy?
It's gotta be a
The
zombie.
man who wrote the book A Gross of Zombies should have some perspective on this.
He's thinking of his growth.
Yeah, you know, I'm
Gross.
hard pressed to think of one that's more effective than the Exorcist.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
right
gonna
there with
say,
you.
I was gonna say that too.
Yeah.
I think that movie is genuinely, I mean, it's an uncomfortable movie to watch,
Mhm.
and it should be. If it's a comfortable movie to watch, I wonder about you.
And then
Um,
The Shining.
The Shining, here's
Yeah,
Johnny.
I know,
Yeah,
that's
And
that was
really, really scary.
That's very confusing, though.
Yeah, it is.
You know, you
Yeah.
don't know exactly what's going on, and you never really, at least maybe I just missed something, but I never really was convinced that what was depicted in the movie was actually happening, or was it in the mind of
Right.
Jack Nicholson because he
Right.
was insane?
Right.
And I never could quite get a handle on that.
but
And
one
my-
thing is for sure, he played that part exceptionally well.
Well, and he made me think of another, I think it's a horror movie, is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That's a horrible, horrible
Well,
movie. And
it's terrifying.
It's terrifying, but at the end, he has a frontal lobotomy. And I personally.
Which is not at all like a bottle in front of me.
Oh, man, I tell you.
Sorry, had to.
Really. I have, in my family, my motley crew of family, I have an uncle, Uncle Volker, who was German and brilliant. He was sort of a Werner von Braun guy. He was uncle by marriage. But he went insane, and he lived in Germany, and they gave him a frontal lobotomy. So, I mean, I've seen,
Makes them easier to handle, doesn't
oh,
it?
Lord of mercy, the poor man. He was in a sanitarium in Germany for decades until he passed. But that's, that scene in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That whole, I mean, that's another very uncomfortable movie to watch. But
Mhm.
I mean, that had to be an Academy Award winner, right?
I think it was, yeah. Milos Forman directed that.
Huh.
Ah,
Yeah, remember?
Okay.
And then a friend of mine who is coming to visit me today, she said that there's a series, which I've seen, that's on Netflix, I think. It's called Nurse Ratched. And it's
Really?
made about that
wow.
nurse, like the prequel to her experience in that movie. So I think I shall have to check it out.
Very interesting. So, I know that if we talk about worst horror movies of all time, you have a whole book
Yeah.
full of that.
You already mentioned a bunch.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting too because just the term horror can really mean different things to different people. I mean, there's some things that some may find very horrific, and other people think, no big deal.
Mhm.
But I agree. I
Well,
think
war movies can be really,
war is hell. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But
You know, there are different genres, and the zombie movies, of course, I'm very familiar with, and vampire
I've
movies.
heard that before.
And vampire movies, but there's no such a thing as vampires. There's no such a thing as zombies. So it's just it's harmless
That's
fun.
what you say.
However,
It's true.
I don't agree with you. I think there are such things.
Yeah, well,
Hey,
vampires.
listen, I lived
something's
in
wrong with
Jamaica,
you.
man. The zombies, we were right next to Haiti.
Zombies maybe.
They come from
Vampires.
Vampires, I'm telling
You
you,
know,
I
I've
take
mentioned-
it seriously.
I've mentioned before
Yeah.
though. I had I was part of a year-long project in Romania, which is
Well, yeah, there you go.
old Transylvania,
Yeah.
and I never gave it much thought.
Vlad Tepes.
Yeah,
Vlad the Impaler.
Tempest.
No, Tepes.
Tepes?
Yeah. Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize it was pronounced Tepes.
I believe so.
I've been saying it wrong all this
no,
time.
that's the original Romanian pronunciation, of course, which we prefer.
I've gone all
Yes,
Romanian
yes,
on
we-
you.
we-
No.
Anyway,
I
need a spot of tea. At any rate, one of the interesting things there's in that trip, we were able to go all over Romania, and we were hoping to be done one day and get back into Bucharest where we were staying, and we were running way behind. And so by the time we got to this one castle that was the birthplace of Vlad the Impaler, it was midnight, and yet it was still open, and they had a little gift store there and stuff. That was one of the creepier places I've been. There's this weird covered stairway that goes up this hill to this extremely old, extremely creepy little cemetery. And of course, being there at midnight kind of added to the whole mystique.
I bet it did.
But it was, and as I've said before on the show, when you look at the true life story of Vlad the Impaler, he was, I think that's every bit as dark, if not darker, than the fictitious story about Dracula. But I mean, he was a deeply twisted puppy. But he also went through some pretty horrific stuff at an early age.
Right, yeah. But he, they took the story of Dracula from him.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting anyway, but the people in Romania do not like the fictional Dracula because they're still pretty creeped out about the real story of Vlad. But
Well, they sort of celebrate Vlad, don't they?
well, there's they have some monuments to him, but
They
they're
have a gift store, right?
well, yeah.
Well, there you are.
That's
You
right.
know, that's,
A little five and dime, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's an interesting country. The food there is excellent, and actually, out of a lot of the places I've been, I would love to go back to Romania again. I thought the
I'd
people
like to
were
see
great.
it there,
Yeah.
yeah. And then
plum brandy.
Yeah, that I can tell you all about.
That'll fix you up.
That is called Polinka,
Polinka.
and it's different in every village. And if you compliment one other village, when you get to the next one, they want you to drink their Polinka right now, whether it's 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night.
Oh,
I'm too old for that.
yeah.
But anyway,
So
I digress.
other horror movies, you have vampires, zombies, ghosts.
What was the one with the House of Wax?
Well, that was Vincent Price.
Yeah, I was going to say that was
Yeah.
good.
Well, that was Paris Hilton.
Oh, I know one. The
Yes,
other.
Paris Hilton House, the new and
Oh, yeah,
improved House of Wax.
Yeah.
Much better than the old
Yeah.
House of Wax.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And
Paris
remember
Hilton.
the movie The Others with Nicole
Oh,
Kidman?
my Lord. Now there.
That's a
Ho,
really
ho,
good
ho,
movie.
ho, ho.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Ice Cream.
Ike.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good score.
That's a score.
And that is in the same.
And that has
It's a spiritual
Yes.
horror.
A darkness.
It has an ending which we're not going to mention because
No.
should you happen to go see that,
It'll just
It
twist
was-
your head.
it was like the ending of the what was it?
The other one.
M. Night Shyamalan, the Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
Sixth
Sixth Sense.
Yeah, you just have to go see it and not tell people the ending because it's just
And the name of this movie again
The
is
The
Others.
Others with
Nicole
Nicole
Kidman.
Kidman.
Huh.
Absolutely, I would go
This
see that.
comes as a
again.
shock to you, but I've never heard that before.
Yeah. Why are you even interviewing
I have
us?
no idea. They just
I'm
the
sorry,
door was unlocked. I came in.
I'm so snarky today. You gotta forgive me.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Follow
I'm wearing the signature of my president.
Ah,
so-
Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I voted. Yeah.
Follow the trail of chocolate chip cookies, and here you are.
That's right. That's right. And I don't see anymore. But
But there's a movie that is very, very popular that I can't watch because it's too frightening.
What?
It.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
Ditto. Can't
Yeah.
watch it. The Stephen King.
oh right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and when I don't even know what the monster is. It's from.
It's
from,
it?
Yes, I mean, is it from outer space? Is it from another dimension?
It's a tranny.
It's not necessarily a demon or that kind of a thing. It's something completely off.
Yeah. Well, Carrie's another one.
Yeah, I wasn't scared of Carrie. at
Oh
all.
man, that's a great movie. That with
Great
with
movie,
Sissy
but not
Spacek
scary.
and the wonderful Piper Laurie, the old one
Right.
is really good.
Yeah, I
It's
remember
really
seeing that.
good. Yeah, and William Blatty, I think. Boy, where do I think of these things?
And Sissy Spacek.
Yeah, she was great.
Yeah, she did a
Oh,
good job
she's
on that.
amazing. Yeah.
By the way, Dana says we were in Ireland. We went to a castle with a dungeon. Couldn't even go inside of it.
Mhm.
In
Yeah.
Manila in the Philippines, and there was some horrible stuff that happened during the Second World War, the
Oh.
Bataan Death March and different
Yeah.
things that happened there. But I saw a dungeon there, and it's like 90 degrees and 90% humidity, and it's
Yeah.
hard just to exist in the shade, let alone in some of these little
Mhm.
critter infested places. I agree. It's
Mhm.
it's spooky stuff.
Yeah, or you go to Europe and go to the torture museums, and I couldn't go in. We went to Italy in 2001, and you know what humans do to other humans is enough
Not
of
nice.
a horror. It's enough of a horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
It's sick and twisted.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great time to get out to the Sawmill Theater. So I've got a lot of great Halloween-oriented
We'll see The
movies for you this week.
Exorcist.
Do we know anything about any new releases that are going to be coming out soon? I know that last time we had Craig here, it sounded like there might be something into the holidays. A couple of big name releases. Do we know anything about
Yeah,
that?
the only thing I can tell you with any certainty
Yes.
is Wonder
Wonder
Woman
Woman,
on
right.
Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And that'll be like a change of pace. For many years, on Christmas Day, I went to see the latest Bond movie.
Oh, Bond.
James
Bond.
You know, I saw recently was a movie about Ian Fleming
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
in the early part of the war.
Yes.
And it was pretty well done. It was fun.
I lived in the house where Ian Fleming had lived.
Really?
Yes, Noel Coward and Ian Fleming had lived in our house when we were in Jamaica,
Wow.
and it was haunted. And I'm telling you, it was really haunted. They have rails on the top of these houses with little points on them, and they're called duppy rails because the ghosts, which are called duppies, go flying along and they're really stupid and they impale themselves on the rails. That's why the duppy rails are there.
I didn't
Stupid
know that.
duppy.
Yes, they're dummy duppies. And Ian Fleming had lived in our house, and they had parties there. We heard all about it.
Wow.
He and Noah Coward, they were party animals.
Huh.
Yeah, but he was an amazing guy, and he was very literary and very. The books are exquisitely written.
Hmm.
So you should go back and read all the Ian Fleming.
You know, that brings me to one other thing. I mean, I love to go watch a movie, but there's nothing quite like reading the story because I think what your mind can conjure up, I think Hollywood has a hard time matching.
Well, and if you can read it before you see it, because otherwise you have their pictures in your mind rather
Right.
than your own pictures.
Right.
So I read all the Ian Fleming books pretty much before then they made Dr. No, and that was made in Jamaica, and it was such a tiny little budget, nobody knew it was
Dr.
gonna
No
be-
was made in Jamaica?
Yes,
Sure.
man.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
Wow.
man,
I don't get
Poirot.
out much.
Yes,
Remember
and
Ursula Andress
Andress
coming
coming
from
out.
the sea?
yes, and Sean Connery was an unknown. In fact, Ian Fleming did not want him. I forget who he wanted.
His
Yeah.
previous great thing was Leprechaun or something.
Oh, yeah, it was just ridiculous,
Yeah.
yeah. But they filmed it, the opening scene, if you see Dr. No, was filmed in Peter Cater's house, that was my friend, and Mrs. Cater was the blonde woman who got murdered because they hired local talent. I mean, they were just, like a few shillings here and a few shillings there. It was great. I had played in that space,
Wow.
probably a couple weeks before they filmed it. Yeah,
How weird.
It's a great movie. Great movie.
Which one was Rowan Atkins in? Was that
Mm.
Dr. No or?
No, Dr. No had the strange Dr. No. I can't remember the actor who played him, but remember he had the,
Yeah, no, Rowan Atkins played an embassy flack who meets James Bond and takes him someplace. And it's a straight dramatic role. He's not doing anything funny.
not his Mr. Bean.
Not as Mr. Bean, yeah. But I can't remember which one it was, but it was it was tropical at least.
Well, yeah,
So I don't know if it was Dr. No or
it might have been. Maybe there's a
was just a little-
a bit part.
yeah,
It
just
could have
a,
been. And the club that they had was the club that my parents belonged to. They just changed the sign, so they had the three blind men, tapping. It was actually, Dr. No very, very closely followed the book. which was really nice.
Very interesting.
And Ian Fleming had lived in Jamaica for years, so he knew all kinds of stuff about, you know, the culture and the black magic and Obeah, right?
And what they did,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was good, yeah.
Well, you know, going back to the James Bond thing, do you know why I have a lid on my coffee?
I don't wanna know.
Because I like it shaken, not stirred.
Sorry.
We're out of time. Thank you for joining us on Facebook
What a
Live.
phenomenon.
I'm gonna actually, hopefully that was not so much that will keep you from coming back next time. But always appreciate the Hometown Movie Guys. Make sure you get out to the Sawmill Theaters,
Yay.
check out a good movie. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock at the Sawmill
Yay.
Theaters, Sands of Iwo Jima. You can go in and watch it for free, a classic
Yes.
John Wayne movie, and we won't tell you about the ending.
And don't be a thuggy.
And don't be a thuggy, or a thugger for that matter. Anyway,
Or a thugette.
you might forget, yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us again.